Peace family, Vie Darling here, back with another tarot and intuitive reading. This time I'm doing the part 2 of what is happening in the ethers and how it will show up in the 3D in the year of 2023. The last part was about society, and that's looking at what's going to be happening to social institutions in 2023, and that includes like the family, media, politics and the government, education systems, that sort of thing, interpersonal interactions and engagements. In part 2, we're going to be talking about what is going to be happening to the earth and subsequently our bodies. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to pick from the Rebecca Campbell Work Your Light Oracle deck. And this deck actually really revolutionized my practice. I've been working with it for the past 4 years at least, and I really love it. It is what opened me up to the galactic stuff, and I'm super grateful for that because I would not be on the path that I am on now were it not for that. So shouts out Rebecca Campbell and Danielle Noel, who did the artwork for this, because that was actually really influential to my creative practice in art school, which I just graduated from. So I'm going to shuffle the cards, and we're going to get the overarching energy for what's happening in the ethers and how it will show up in the 3D in 2023 in regards to the planet and to our bodies. I'll go ahead and say that I already did this reading. I already did this reading before, but I did not like the way that it turned out. Just because I recorded it on Zoom, and Zoom is not the best place to record a video, so it was not great quality. I did that so that we could simultaneously look at the chart, but what I'm going to do is when we refer to the chart, I'm just going to put it on the screen. I'm just going to overlay the image of the chart onto the screen, and that should do it, because I would rather you all be able to see really clearly what's going on, as opposed to just having to do tons and tons of editing like I did before. But so, okay, this is what's coming up, I guess. So this, and this. Okay, so we get Sisterhood of the Rose in the reverse position, beauty and devotion, priestess, mystic, and teacher. We get birthing a new age, birthing new creations, dreaming a new world into being, which is what we got in the last time that I did this. We get warrior woman, have you answered your deepest calling? What I'm picking up from this is that, this is the dissension of the Sisterhood of the Rose template, where a lot of divine feminines are being activated. And I think it's really important to note that divine feminine does not necessarily mean that you are a female or that you identify as a woman, because you can be a female and not identify as a woman, and you can be any other sex and identify as a woman, but you could also be someone who identifies as a woman or an AFAB, assigned female at birth, and be a divine masculine. That is all possible, and in whatever given relationship, you could also be the person who's showing up as the masculine energy or feminine energy. So this is about those of us who are on the Sisterhood of the Rose path. And we are inviting beauty and devotion. Beauty, not just physical beauty, but emotional beauty, spiritual beauty. So it's not just about aesthetics. It's about It's very much about the spirit realms, and it is about bringing in the 12th dimension. It is about bringing in Christ consciousness, because the sisterhood of the rose has to do with Christ consciousness. It has to do with Gnosticism. Mary Magdalene was a sister of the rose, and so this is about divine feminine Christ and divine masculine Christ. And though this card is in the reverse, to me, as I said, it means that like we're downloading these light codes, we're downloading this template, and we are ascending into this higher vibration of awareness. And that actually means that we are becoming higher vibration. And so I do feel like, because usually when this happens, the feminine receives the downloads, because the feminine energy is receptive. The feminine receives the downloads, the codes, and the masculine, after it is processed and integrated within the feminine, that then happens to the masculine next. So we're seeing an awakening within the divine feminine within each and every single one of us. Twin flames are the masculine polarity and feminine polarity within each and every single one of us. We all have those. And then we also have neutral charges, and that's also like yin and yang, and those things are coming together within us. They have been coming together within us, and now as we have been becoming more integrated and more holistically aligned, we're coming to see in the world around us an amalgamation of those energies and entities around the world. And I do feel like in the 3D, it's going to look like a lot is kicking off. Actually, it's already starting. It's looking like, you know, feminists all across the planet are rising up to demand human rights for those who are gendered as women and females. And this is a beautiful thing that's happening, but it is also in the 3D. If we're thinking from a 3D perspective, from an egoic perspective, it's scary, and it's a little bit frightening, you know, to see like all of these uprisings and like revolutions going on. And that's going to be continuing throughout the rest of 2023, throughout the 2020s. In fact, it's going to be continuing to happen. And we're really going to see a lot of these bodies of governance being brought to their knees, and these higher ups being brought to their knees. These people with power within the cis heteropatriarchy are going to be brought to their knees, because the cis heteropatriarchy is being torn down. The feminine, it has been imprisoned and demonized and hunted and othered for millennia, and that is coming to an end now. The feminine is taking her rightful throne in the ethereal realm, and this is liberating the masculine from bondage as well, spiritual bondage. And so the divine masculine and divine feminine are both rising up out of their the ways in which they have been being kept back, and the ways in which like our power has been being inverted and misappropriated and maligned. I want to move on to birthing a new age, birthing new creations, dreaming a new world into being. This is going to be a world that we've never experienced in human history, in this civilization, because historically in Western canon, they consider history to have started and civilization to have started with Mesopotamia. Well, we're not considering that. We're going all the way back to Lemuria, which was like the first Earth kingdom dynasty. I don't know what to call it. Civilization, I guess you can call it. Was humans before there were humans, earthlings before there were humans, okay? And they lived very much in harmony with planet Earth. Was called, my guidance is saying Gaia back then, but we are actually activating, and also there's been the name of Tiamat. We're activating a new echelon of planetary consciousness as we have been hurtling through space on our cosmic journey to becoming a higher vibration just overall for the planet, and that is what you've been seeing taking place on the planet over time. More and more people have been waking up, and that's because the planet's consciousness is ascending. The reason why we are so far regressed from where we were when we first seeded life on this planet is because of, we've dropped in density via karma. We've dropped in density, we've become denser and heavier, taking on more and more karma. This happened when 𝗪𝗏𝗍 souls came to Earth during Atlantis because they blew up their planet, and Earth as a consciousness agreed to host them for regeneration and renewal. But we're birthing a new age now, birthing new creations, dreaming a new world into being. And this is about the body, so I'm not going to get super into inventions and things like this. But we're going to definitely in the next few years be seeing new inventions that, because so many Lemurians and people from Atlantis who maybe left planet Earth in order to ascend into to escape, or just to ascend into higher consciousness, or put into the Lemurian crystals, whatever, they are coming back and they are accessing their memories now that we are in a lighter density. We're no longer in such a heavy, low density. We're being able to access our soul memories, which are stored in our cellular DNA. And that is going to allow us to access the memories of technologies of previous civilizations and how we can bring those back now and even improve upon them, because though they were much more advanced, we still have progressed in time. And those spirits, if they've gone to other solar systems and realms and higher dimensions, have been bringing back with them information that is even beyond anything that we have experienced on Earth. So a lot of people returning from the future, or coming back from the future to this point in time in order to help out in this shifting of the age. And they're being activated now. Their cellular DNA is being activated now. So folks are going to start to feel different in their body. I would really recommend folks to do detoxes, do cleanses. I would really recommend folks to get into eating cleaner, because that's really going to help in terms of processing this experience in your awakening. Getting grounded was something that really came up a lot the last time that I did this reading. Getting grounded and tapping into spirit. We're gonna be doing this cleansing and clarification and purification of our energetic body and our physical body so that they can merge more, and we will be able to better tap into the frequency of our intuition and get more clear on that. And the same can be said about the spirit realms. Telepathy is going to be activated for a lot of people. We have seen in the past, the 2010s, a lot of people were activating as far as empathy goes, which actually is a really big deal, because we live in bodies that a sensory body. All of the communication is through our senses, and we've been bred to be sociopaths, to just not be and psychopaths and narcissists, and just not be in our bodies, to constantly be dissociating because of trauma, constantly trying to escape our bodies because of trauma. I'm being called to look at Capricorn on the chart. When we look at Capricorn, we see that it's in the 5th house, Pluto at 3 degrees, and we have Saturn at 28 degrees. And so Saturn, by the time that I'm filming this, which is the 31st of January, 2023, by the time that I'm filming this, Saturn has already moved into Aquarius. But the fact that it's at 28 degrees, which makes 10, which is the ending of cycle. Think about the Wheel of Fortune in tarot. The fact that we're seeing this here at the beginning of the year, and we get 14 seconds, which means 5 in the 5th house. There are challenges. There are a lot of challenges that are happening in Capricorn, and this has to do with the body. This has to do with the bones. So there's a lot of growth that is going to be uncomfortable because it's asking us to go against the grain of everything that we've ever known. Go against the systems and structures that we have been born into and indoctrinated into. Because this is a reclamation of our power, and the fact that we have Venus and Pluto conjunct at 3 degrees in the 5th house, we get this sisterhood of the rose in the inverted position. This is about, we're no longer being Eve, we are being Lilith. And we have Lilith here at 4 degrees and 58 seconds. 5 and 8 makes 13. That's a big deal. And Cancer in the 11th house, and that to me is saying, like, we are prioritizing compassion, and we are prioritizing empathy, and our feelings, our sensations, not just like our emotional feelings, but also like the feelings in our bodies, which are tied to the emotional feelings. Because if we're experiencing pain in our bodies, that's going to affect our emotional body, and it's going to affect our mental body as well. We are in a place now where we are fiercely protective over ourselves and over our inner children. Our inner children. We've been doing the shadow work to show up as the loving inner parent for the wounded inner child. And this is going to look like, you know, the taking back of our power. Before, we felt like we had to do whatever we were told to do, and that was creating a lot of trauma in our bodies. That was contributing to the desire to dissociate. So there's going to be a lot of people who are being pushed into and out of situations that are going to bring them more into alignment with their higher self. So being pushed out of relationships and energies that no longer serve us, we're being called out of those relationships that are keeping us outside of alignment with our higher selves and outside of alignment with our integrity, because to me, Capricorn has a lot to do with integrity. And we were not in our integrity when we were, you know, operating from this colonial template of a spiritualism, cis-heteropatriarchy, anti-blackness, anti-indigeneity, and capitalism and industrialism. When we operate from those frameworks, we are not in alignment with our higher self. We are not in alignment with integrity. And that's why we get warrior woman. Have you answered your deepest calling? Because warrior woman is saying, you know, I see behind her that she is in a way, I guess like reified might be the word, or deified, but like she's glowing. It's very much a Joan of Arc type energy. And I feel like her armor is glowing because she is like empowered with divinity, Christ consciousness. And this is, you know, within the major context of cis-heteropatriarchy, they have removed the warrior goddess from the mother goddess. Most of the Venusian deities were not just love, goddesses of love and sex, but also goddesses of war. And I'm looking at a poster on the wall that says winning strategy, and it's making me think of Athena. And Athena is the goddess of wisdom, and she's also the goddess of strategic warfare. She's the elder sister of Ares, whose twin sister is 𝗪𝗔, and that is 𝗪𝗁𝘁. And 𝗪𝗔 is the goddess of chaos, and she's the goddess of strife and discord. Her Roman equivalent is Discordia, which means the same. Eris's Greek opposite is Harmonia, whose Roman counterpart is Concordia. Homer equated her with the war goddess Enyo, whose Roman counterpart is Bellona. But I do want to say that because she is derived from 𝗪𝗁𝘁, the goddess of Her, the land of the dead, or underworld in Sumerian mythology, I think it's really important to note that like people who are like obsessed with living and obsessed with life and like easy things would of course think that like the goddess of the underworld and of death is going to be bad. Like people really feared 𝗪𝘁 and revered her, because what happens in the underworld, and we're talking about Pluto here, to me, Pluto is actually not a male deity, but a female deity. And, you know, once again, that's like cis hetero patriarchy coming through and being like, oh, you know, women or like feminine energy is like irrelevant and not important, and we're gonna take up as much space as we can. And we see this all over the world. We see this happen in all of the pantheons in different ways, and this is how it happened in Babylonian mythology, is that 𝗪𝘁 became married, and her husband was actually not as powerful as her. He was not the ruler of the underworld, but slowly but surely he became the co-ruler, and eventually he even like surpassed her in power culturally. And that is, you know, I feel like that's where we see the rise of cis hetero patriarchy taking place, and the disempowerment and disenfranchisement of the feminine. This lack of balance, how does this have to do with the body? I'm seeing nervous system maintains internal order within the body by coordinating the activities of muscles and organs, receives input from sense organs, trigger reactions, generating learning and understanding, and providing protection from danger, primarily conducted through electrochemical signaling between nerves and other cells. And I'm also seeing lymphatic system a little less primarily. And so what does this mean? To me, this means that this next year is about a reset of our nervous system. Anything that takes us into fight or flight mode, and I hear the ding, ding. Anything that takes us into fight or flight mode is going to be called out of our lives, and it's our job to just let go and let it leave our lives. We're being called to rest more. Okay, and I do want to say that Dark Star Astrology has a lot of writing on Persephone, and I would really recommend going and reading about it. But essentially, we've been going through a dark night of the soul because we've been going through an exorcism of the feminine energy within ourselves and also collectively. And that is therein giving rise to exorcism of the energies of the masculine energy, the expressional energy. Collectively across the planet, we are experiencing a heightened awareness of our emotional, of our senses, and it's getting harder and harder for people to deny their feelings and also simultaneously their intuition. And so the next wave that's coming in the 2010s, as I said, this is a progression now that our empathy has been turned up. Our telepathy is going to be turned up in the 2010s. And so those people who are trying to hold on to that sociopathic, psychopathic, extractional way of experiencing life and going through life, they're going to just die. A lot of them are just going to die. And these people are people who need more and more substances or addictive behaviors to keep them from experiencing life on life's terms, so that they can dissociate, so that they can be outside of their bodies. However this looks for anybody, it can really be, and when I did this reading the first time, it was showing up as a lot of different things. But one thing that we're going to see is a lot of people are going to really go in on addictive behavior. So if it's substances, they're going to be bottoming out. There are going to be a lot of people ODing. There are going to be a lot of people dying from ODs. Because you don't necessarily have to die from an overdose. You can overdose and you can still live. But a lot of people are that's going to get a lot of people to get sober, and however that looks for them. Or they're going to just die. They're going to bottom out and die. We're going to see a lot of people who are bottomed out and on the skids on the street, really acting out in ways, like really aggressive ways. So you might see a lot of these kinds of people who are, you know, you can say homeless, whatever. I don't think that everybody who lives on who is, you know, bottoming out and on the skids is necessarily homeless. And I don't want to use that language. So I'm just saying that to clarify that that's what I mean by on the skids, is like these people who generally live on the streets and are, you know, abusing substances and can be very violent. You know, I lived in Los Angeles and I have experienced like very violent behavior from these kinds of people, and we're going to be experiencing a lot more of that in 2023, because part of the thing that's happening is that we're receiving crown chakra activations. And if you are not grounded and you're receiving crown chakra activations, this can make you spin out. It can make you come unhinged, and it can cause psychosis. It can cause just like abject full flight from reality, essentially. And so a lot of people who are receiving these light codes, you know, I used to be someone who dealt with the inability to deal with my gifts. I coped by drinking excessively, and I also coped by smoking a lot of weed, but mainly I coped by drinking excessively. And that's what a lot of people do because they don't know how to deal with their gifts. We don't live in a society that encourages that or helps with that because of the aspiritualism and the anti-indigeneity. So we're going to be seeing a lot more people just like experiencing psychosis, experiencing mental breakdowns. And if you know anything about shamanism, you know that the shamanistic experience and initiation is actually marked by traumatic instances, often paired with what we might refer to pejoratively as hysteria. So people have mental breakdowns, and that breakdown actually gives rise to a breakthrough. I'm not talking about people who really need help, chemical help and psychiatric help. That's not what I'm talking about right now. What I'm talking about is people who are shamans and are going through initiation. And those things can overlap for sure. But I'm telling you, and I'm giving this disclaimer, that if you or someone you know needs psychiatric help, if you are experiencing psychiatric issues, psychosis, psychotic issues, you need to talk to a professional. Don't just be like, oh, I'm watching this reading and like that means that everything is fine with me. I'm not a mental health professional. Talk to your doctor. Talk to your therapist if you feel that you can trust them. But what I am saying is we're going to be going through really powerful ascensions and crown chakra activations, and it's going to be very helpful to be grounded. And this is why I'm saying it's going to be very helpful to be eating natural, organic, whole foods from the earth. Okay, because that is going to help us to be grounded. You're going to be wanting to eat a lot of red foods, a lot of roots, like root vegetables, tubers, orange foods, and a lot of yellow foods, because this corresponds to our lower chakras. Okay, I'm also getting that we should really be, because we're tuning into the Earth Star chakra, which the energy, the frequency of the Earth Star chakra has shifted. It has heightened. It is a higher frequency, a higher vibration. That the Earth Star chakra is black. So we should be tuning into our black stones, black metals, because this is going to help us to stay grounded. And it's also going to purge any malevolent frequencies, any discordant frequencies, because when we are receiving these higher vibrational upgrades and downloads, and we're processing and we're uploading, this makes us very vulnerable, and we are susceptible to having astral interference happening. And that can look like demonic possession. That can look like just being possessed from a being, an energy or entity outside of ourselves. And this is not a walk-in from a higher vibrational divine entity or energy. This is us being taken out of sovereignty, of control of our bodies. And it can also look like deep state interference, okay? So we're gonna really want to be working with our black stones. I think this might be onyx. I know that this one is shungite. This might be onyx. I also usually have black tourmaline on me. I carry around lava stone. I actually touched a lava stone from Reykjavik the other day when I was getting my nose pierced, and it was so powerful. It was vibrating. And so now that we're talking about lava stone, I do want to get into some things that I channeled and downloaded from the last time that I did this reading. There are going to be a lot of volcanic eruptions. They've already started. They started in 2022, actually. I feel like there's going to be, I'm hearing Pompeii, and I'm hearing that like there's going to be volcanic destruction. A lot has been coming up around Mount Etna. So once again, I really want to encourage folks to look into the story of Persephone and check out Dark Star Astrology's writing about Persephone, because she has a really great interpretation that I adhere to. And my progression of what she says is Core, the daughter of Zeus and Demeter, comes to Earth with her mother, and she is abducted by Pluto, and then she becomes Persephone when she's abducted. And, you know, trigger warning here, there are statues about it. The RAPE of Proserpina, because her Roman name is Proserpina. That's one of my favorite statues. Actually, I've seen it at the Victoria and Albert Museum, and I really relate to the story, so that's part of why I am super obsessed with it. But once again, I do want to come back to what I was saying about Capricorn and Venus and Pluto being conjunct at 3 degrees of Capricorn, because I feel like this is, as I said, the restoration of our power as divine feminines, or just divine feminine power in general. And this is going to bring us more into alignment with our masculine expressional energy. The ways in which our feminine energy has been distorted has also been keeping our masculine energy distorted. And that's why we haven't been able to truly have our manifestations actualize in the 3D the way that we ought to have. If you've been told, I've been told so many times, like, you are a master manifester, but I hadn't been manifesting things the way that I felt that they ought to have been being manifested. And that's because my subconscious was so warped and full of distortions because of trauma that I'd experienced in past lives. So past life healing is happening, past life integration is happening, and also in past lives of past versions of myself in this human body that I've had, okay? Because I have lived many lifetimes in one. If you are someone who's taken on a really big soul mission on Earth, you may feel like you've lived a bunch of different lifetimes in one lifetime, and it's true. So past lives in that sense as well, ancestral karma too. And I'm gonna start shuffling from the Crystal Visions deck that I have. I got this in Los Angeles, and I know that it's not necessary. Actually, protection, call back your power, cut the cord, soul retrieval. And this card, I'm going to put in the outgoing position. This card also came up last time I did this reading. And yes, in the reverse, just say yes. And mirror. Who or what are we triggering? Mirrors have to do with Venus. Mirrors have to do with Aphrodite. Mirrors have to do with 𝗵𝗿. They have to do with the water and the most high vibrational iteration of water, platinum chakra, platinum realms, okay? Like, this has to do with manifestation, as I said. And the more that we call back our power from the systems of indoctrination in whatever way they're showing up in our lives, the more that we're saying yes to ourselves and no to those things that keep us out of alignment, the stronger, the healthier, the better we're going to be. Because guess what? Let me show you guys these cards. Protection. call back your power, cut the cords, soul retrieval, saying no. There's an eclipse here. An eclipses generally, like, animals start to act wild. They tend to go haywire because the electromagnetic frequency of the earth is shifted and different when we are experiencing an eclipse. Eclipse season for me, I identify, so eclipse season is going to be really important. I'll make a separate video about the eclipse seasons, but to me, I identify eclipse season as being when the gates of hell open. So this year, 2023, the gates of hell are going to be open. Just like I said, we are receiving because the Earth Star chakra has heightened, and the frequency, the vibration of the planet has heightened, and it's shaking out a bunch of sickness and lower vibrational energy, carbon, disease, heavy, dense metals are being shaken out for clarification of the energy, and the ley lines are shifting. That is something we're experiencing in our bodies and in our consciousness. And so with these activations, we're being heightened, and as we're being heightened, we are more vulnerable. And so, as I said, entities are going to try their best to grab a hold of us. You're going to be seeing a lot of fear mongering happening in the media. And I'm seeing the governor of Florida. I don't want to get super political, but I'm seeing things like just anybody who is like political and holds power, like, this has to do with bodies, actually, because we saw the overturning of Roe v. Wade happen last year, and people thought that that was something that would never happen. I got this in the last reading, and in part 1, I think I talk about this. They're going to be coming all over the country for reproductive rights. They're going to be coming all over the country for transgender people. I feel like there are going to be a lot of hate crimes that happen to transgender people. And so I want to encourage people to look out for our community, okay? I want to encourage people because transness is sacred. In a lot of indigenous cultures, transness and non-binariness, queerness in and of itself was an indication of somebody who was a shaman, who was closer to the divine. And they're going to try to murder. There's going to be a lot of murdering of indigenous people. I want to bring people back to when the Amazon rainforest was on fire and Bolsonaro declared war out of his mouth on the indigenous people of the Amazon rainforest. And if you think that that is over, it's not. We're going to see this happening in India, in the subcontinent of Asia. We're seeing it happening with the genocide that's going on in China of the Muslim Chinese people. We're going to be seeing indigenous people all over the world being persecuted. And we need to step up, those of us who have more power and privilege in this world, in this society. We need to step up and protect them, because these are the people who are stewarding the earth. The last time that I did this reading, I talked about how earth integrated homes, like creating homesteads, is something that's going to become practically popular. And the reason that's happening is because the economy is so bad that people are finally admitting that maybe this is something that's worth looking into. And so in the next 5 years, I feel like by 2025, some of the people watching this video, by 2025, you will be off-grid in your Earth integrated homestead. And you're going to have the option to enter the false matrix. We'll be living in the true matrix because of 5D. We'll be in 5D. And you're going to have the option to enter the 3D false matrix if you want to. But you're not going to have to live in it anymore, because now we are in New Earth. The reason I started this video series was because I was downloading messages from New Earth, and it was the Lunar New Year, and Spirit was just like, yeah, like, this is what we're going to talk about. I believe it was the Aquarius new moon. And so, you know, with this eclipse and birthing a new age, both of those things, they look very similar to me. And we're cutting out all of those heavy densities, those toxic ideations that are seated in our subconscious. And I'm being encouraged by folks' ancestors. They're saying, we have told you to use subliminals. We have told you to, we've told you to use subliminals and you haven't been listening, and you need to listen because that's how you're going to reprogram your subconscious mind. I personally have reprogrammed my subconscious mind through the use of subliminals, and that also is a resetting of my solar plexus chakra. Okay, that's my personal power. And once again, that brings us back to being in, Once again, that brings us back to being in alignment with the 3 degrees of Capricorn, the conjunction between Venus and Pluto. This is a reclamation of our personal power, our personal feminine power, our personal divine femininity. Okay, so divine feminines are awakening into our power and remembering who we are. Our ability to access our soul memories is coming alive, okay? I'm just going to look up what 3 Capricorn Sabian symbol. I want to read y'all it. I really love just actually reading from the Sabian symbols because I find it to be very helpful. I know other people don't necessarily, but I find it to be really helpful. So phase 273, Capricorn 3 degrees, a human soul and its eagerness for new experiences seeks embodiment. Yes. So there's going to be a lot of walk-ins happening. As I said, the vulnerability is also allowing us to be accessed by divine energies, and where those of us who are divine feminines and divine entities were previously unable to activate ourselves in certain higher dimensions. I'm hearing 12D to 13D. Those of us who were previously unable to access that energy, we're now being brought into the ability to access it. And so certain past lives where we were worshipped as deities on earth are we're remembering them, and we're accessing our gifts and our powers. Okay, I'm seeing Isis,